Do you want to make silky and delicious sweet potato gnocchi from scratch in exactly 61 minutes and 24 seconds and for the exact price of $3.12 per plate? Well, hold on to your butts because I have the exact recipe for you. Hey folks, welcome back to another episode here at Timeout Kitchen, where we like to make meals and see how fast we can cook them and for what price. Now, if you're wondering, I am not currently in my house because I am visiting family down in South America, and we're also using a different apron, but that's okay because we need to make ourselves some sweet potato gnocchi. Now, to do that, you're going to need, well, some sweet potatoes. Now, these look pretty gnarly, but they're going to make perfectly good gnocchi. So don't be scared, put those to the side, and then grab yourself some garlic. We're going to be using about 5 or 6 cloves, but really you can use as much or as little as you want. Next, you want to grab yourself one small, adorable white onion like so, before grabbing yourself some white flour. Now, this wouldn't be Timeout Kitchen if I didn't forget an ingredient, and that was, of course, to show some lemon, because we use a little bit of the lemon zest and lemon juice at the end while plating. Anyways, moving on, you're also going to want to grab some butter, because butter makes everything better. Next, you want to grab yourself 1 egg. Now, you're going to use an egg per cup of your sweet potato puree, but ideally use the egg yolk only. It just is a bit creamier. For a familiar flavor profile, we're going to use about a 1/4 teaspoon of cinnamon per cup of our puree. Next, you want to grab yourself some basil. Now, mine is extremely wilted because it's about 40 degrees outside, and yeah, don't let that discourage you. Just get yourself some fresh basil. So we really couldn't call this a fresh plate of pasta without some fresh Parmesan cheese, so go ahead and grab whatever you have in the fridge, but please, for the love of God, make sure that it's fresh. Don't buy the pre-grated stuff, guys. This is just, you gotta do it. The other thing you gotta do is add some salt and pepper to taste, as well as a bit of olive oil to top your plate. And continuing with the toppings, we're going to go with one of my favorites. This is going to be some caramelized pecans. So you're going to need about 1/2 cup of pecans that we're going to toast, along with about 2 tablespoons of sugar. Now, ideally, you would use some brown sugar, but this is all I had, and this will work just fine. Anyways, that pretty much covers all of our ingredients. As you can see, guys, it's nothing too crazy. A lot of these ingredients are fairly inexpensive, and the nice thing is that you can put this dish together fairly quickly. Oh, and that reminds me, you know what else is fairly quick and inexpensive? B-roll.
Perfect.
Alright, if that B-roll didn't make you hungry, I don't know what will, but yeah, we gotta actually start putting all this stuff together, so let's get to our prep. So go ahead and grab your potato and peeler and start peeling. Now, this can be pretty boring and potentially dangerous work, and that peeler is sharp, so you might consider a set of smaller, more nimble hands for this, perhaps that of a small child, so just go ahead and grab your nearest family member and put them to work. There we go. Now, I know what you're thinking, what should you do while they're doing the work for you? Well, there's really only one thing to do, of course, and that is to sit back, relax, and enjoy that sweet, sweet child labor. After all of your gnarly potatoes are peeled, including this large one, it's time to give them a quick chop. But because we want to take all of the credit, it's the perfect time to remove anyone who might be trying to steal our thunder. So let's go ahead and resolve this problem like so. Here we go. And with the nuisances removed, let's go ahead and chop these into 1 to 2 inch pieces. Now, the reason we want to cut these into smaller cubes like this is because it's going to cut down on the boiling time. In any case, go ahead and quickly chop the rest of those potatoes into cubes, and when you're done, you should have something that looks a little bit like this. A pile of soon-to-be delicious gnocchi. All that's left now is to transfer these into your pot, so go ahead and throw those in and then just cover with water. You'll need just enough water to cover these potatoes, and then you're going to want to go ahead and add some salt just to make sure it's well seasoned. Then it's simply a matter of getting this onto the stove for 15 to 20 minutes or until softened. Now while we wait for our potatoes to boil, let's go ahead and finish chopping up our ingredients. So go ahead and grab yourself that adorable little onion, cut it in half, and then proceed to cut it into long, thin slices before dicing into tiny little cubes. You should ultimately have something that looks a little bit like this. Up next on the aromatics list is our garlic, so go ahead and give those a quick slap, just to remove the skins, of course, and then go ahead and peel them. Once all of your garlic is peeled, you're going to want to go ahead and put this through your garlic press. Now, I don't have one, so I have to do this with a knife that isn't even really sharp, but go ahead and do your best to dice this up as finely as you can. Again, should have something that looks a little bit like this. So now you should have your thinly diced garlic and your thinly diced onion. So let's move that to the side and work on our pecans. Now this is super simple, so you're going to want to just grab yourself any pan, go ahead and toss in about a half a cup of your pecans, and then simply cover with a bit of sugar. Now this is about 2 tablespoons worth, but you can use a little bit more or a little less. You could ideally use brown sugar. In any case, just give it a bit of sweetness. Then it's time to grab yourself a healthy knob of butter, so go ahead and throw that in, and then we're going to put a bit of salt. This is going to help balance out that sweetness and the fat, and now you have some very simple and very delicious candied pecans that are ready for the stove. And you're going to want to set your stove to a low-medium heat, and this is because you don't want to burn any of the sugar, so let that all melt and bubble away, and you should have something that looks a little bit like this, and you'll be left with a sweet, crunchy topping for your gnocchi. And speaking of gnocchi, we need to add some additional flavor, so go ahead and grab yourself a pan, add about 2 tablespoons of a neutral oil, a little bit of butter so it doesn't burn, and then go ahead and add your aromatics. Now again, we're using garlic and onion here, but you can add a few other ingredients if you like. So on a medium heat, let this begin to cook down. This should take about 5 minutes until the onions and garlic become translucent, and then add in a bit of fresh basil. Give this another quick stir, add some salt and some pepper, and this mixture is basically done. And speaking of things that are done, our sweet potatoes are done, so go ahead and strain those, and then bring them to your workstation, because it's time to mash these to pieces. But before we do that, you gotta add that delicious mixture. This is going to add a ton of flavor to our gnocchi. Now I said it's time to mash, but boy is that a lot of work, and since we're feeling kinda lazy, it's time to quite literally grab our secret weapon. Child labor. So put your young cousin to work, sit down, relax, and have yourself some more beer. But make sure you're supervising the work, because you are looking for a very smooth consistency. Now I'd say she's done a pretty good job, but one thing is missing, and that is going to be some cinnamon. So to this we're going to add about a tablespoon of cinnamon, again about a 1/4 teaspoon per cup. And just go ahead and mash that all into the mixture as well. Once thoroughly combined, you should have something that looks a little bit like this. So it's finally time to clear the workstation, because we have to roll out some dough. As always, the best place to start on any surface is to make sure it is clean and then dry before we throw down some flour. So go ahead and do that, and then put in about a cup of your mixture. Now, again, this is a bit wetter than I like, because it didn't cool down all the way, so do let it cool down, add some more flour to dry it out a bit, and then add your egg. Again, I recommend just using the yolk here, but then just mix this up as best you can with a fork or with your hands, however you see fit. Now, because the dough was a little bit on the wet side, I actually ended up using more flour than I would have liked, but you're looking for something that kind of joins together and forms into a soft, pillowy texture. All in all, I'd say I used about 1.5 cups to 2 cups of flour for every cup of our potato base. Again, you might use less or more depending how yours comes out. As you can see, a good amount of flour went into this, but eventually this did come together. Now, the kneading process isn't always necessary here. You do want something pretty soft, so don't over knead your dough, but you're looking for something that looks a little bit like this. Still feels nice and soft, but has a little bit of elasticity. So go ahead and throw this in a bowl, cover it with a bit of flour, and let this rest for 5 to 10 minutes. Once that time is up, go ahead and reflour your cleaned surface and go ahead and begin the process of rolling out your dough. Again, I don't have any real technique for this, guys, as you can tell, so if you're a gnocchi master, I do apologize for my terrible treatment of this dough, but basically you can see we have a pretty consistent layer, so we're going to go ahead and twist this into little balls and begin the rolling process. You're looking for long, thin, log-like rolls like so, and then when you're ready, go ahead and cut those into appropriate sized pieces. Now, these are a little big, but that's okay. okay. That's what we want because we need to be able to fit our fat pinky finger in there and make our little indent, and that is the shape we're going to go with. Just try not to drop your gnocchi like I did. In any case, you're going to need to punch in a couple more holes, so go ahead and do that real quick. With that done, move those to the side and just repeat the process. You can make your gnocchi as large or as little as you want, but basically you should have something that looks like this. And with those gnocchi completed, you're going to want to go ahead and put these into your boiling salted water. Now these won't take very long to cook, and you know they're done when they start to float. If you find they're clumping at the bottom, just give them a quick little stir with a fork. After about a minute or so, these will be done. Go ahead and strain these in a colander. Give them a quick shake because it's time to introduce them to the pan. So in your pan, add a little bit of olive oil, followed by a knob of butter. Now, once this begins to melt, go ahead and give this a quick swirl to make sure you cover the entirety of the pan. With the butter melted, go ahead and add your gnocchi directly to the pan and give this a quick toss. Now, we're sitting here on a medium-high heat because we are looking to crisp up those gnocchi. And this shouldn't take more or 3 or 4 minutes per side. And once you see a crispy layer forming, you're basically done. The only thing left to do is to plate. So go ahead and grab your plate and begin the plating process, which basically entails dumping your gnocchi in the plate. And yeah, guys, these look really tasty, and they're not hard to put together. We're just going to add a bit of our shredded Parmesan cheese, a quick sprinkling of our fresh basil, a tiny bit of lemon zest, which I again did not show in the ingredients, guys, but this helps break down some of that fat, a squirt of the lemon juice as well. And my favorite topping here is these candied pecans. These add such a beautiful layer of crunch and sweetness. And there you go. There is our plate of gnocchi. So the last thing to do is give this a taste, and you can see the amazing contrast both in color and textures. We've got crunch and sweetness from those pecans, soft pillowy gnocchi, and the beautiful brightness from the lemon. And guys, this is just such a perfect, simple dish. The only thing left to do now is to enjoy the rest of this plate uninterrupted by any distractions, unless someone pushes you violently out of the way. In fairness, I probably deserve that. But I mean, look at the color and the contrast and the texture, guys. This is quite literally the perfect bite. But don't forget, sharing is caring, so go ahead and share this with your family or friends. I promise you, they will not be disappointed. And that's it. There's our sweet potato gnocchis done. Thanks so much for watching until the end of the video. And as always, thumbs if you liked it, subs if you loved it. We will see you in the next one.